Good morning. I stand here before all of you today as a student, a young woman, a daughter, an activist, an environmentalist, but most fundamentally, as a human being. I am standing here today as a person who truly cares, and you should too. I am going to start by telling you something about the state of our world today, and it has everything to do with climate change, and it has everything to do with youth. Some of you might already know these things, and some of you might not. Others of you might be too scared to look reality in the face to uncover the vast destruction that we have caused to our planet. But before I get into all of that, I want to explain a little bit about my personal background. Being raised along the stunning coastline of British Columbia, Canada, I grew to respect the natural world. It was there that my love for the mountains and the ocean began. I can remember sunny days, playing on the beach with my friends, the smell of salt water in the air, just beautiful. I remember hiking up mountains ever since I was old enough to walk. I would inspect every little thing on the ground and investigate every little part of the dirt trail. I remember so many days spent exploring the tide pools along the coast full of life. Crabs, coral, seals, and the occasional sea urchin. I was amazed by Earth's wonders. To me, Earth was a gift. And by the end of this talk, I'm going to have convinced you that you should see Earth as a gift too, and share my concern for the state of our Earth today. Because I was exposed to Earth's beauty at such a young age, I couldn't help but notice, little by little, that something was wrong. It was the pit buried deep in my stomach that surfaced when I watched a large industrial truck emit black smoke from its engine, clouding the sky. It was the uneasiness I felt when I passed the towering nuclear power plants in Limerick, PA, on the way to the outlet mall. It was the overwhelming feeling of concern when I learned from the zoo that babies born in 2015 will likely never see a polar bear. It was the lingering guilt that I felt when I saw trash on the streets just carelessly thrown aside. Before I go any further, I want to ask all of you in the audience a question. How many of you like to drink clean water? Okay, good, great. We are all in agreement that clean water is a necessity for human beings to survive and carry on into the future. Well, climate change is seriously affecting our ability to sustain access to clean water. Rising temperatures and other extreme weather conditions will affect the availability of uncontaminated drinking water, the distribution of rain and snowmelt, and will ultimately lead to degraded water quality. Imagine that. Something as simple as getting a drink of nice, clean, cold tap water on a hot summer's day just became a lot more complicated. So there you have it. Climate change is real. It's a real life problem, and it isn't a problem of the future. In fact, it's already here. There are facts. The ocean. For every year for as long as I can remember, I've been going to my great-grandmother's house in Ocean City, New Jersey. I have some of my most cherished summertime memories there. Playing on the beach with my many cousins and going on the boardwalk at night. But recently, the government of New Jersey has released a document outlining the environmental impacts to their coastal cities like Ocean City. To no surprise, rising sea levels and more frequent disastrous storms will have a drastic effect on the livelihood, wildlife, and even existence of these valuable places and ecosystems. If we don't act now, our coastal cities will soon be flooded. Trees. Although we might not realize it, trees are one of the most fundamental aspects to life on Earth. They are the lungs of the planet. They clean the air that we breathe. They provide shade. They are home to millions of wildlife creatures that we love and care for. Imagine a world without trees for just 1 second. Hard, right? But if we don't act now, our forests will continue to be depleted at an even more rapid pace than they already are. Stress from excessive heat due to climate impacts will negatively affect the trees' ability to thrive and may even cause them to die. If the trees are gone, what is next to go? Energy. We need it. We use it every day. We live in a world where society is dependent on it. We consume large quantities of it. If we don't act now, Americans will continue to use over 20% of the world's energy and contribute to 14% of carbon emissions worldwide, even though we only make up 5% of the population. The problem is with energy that we don't manufacture energy very sustainably, not by a long shot. Instead of focusing long-term and utilizing renewable resources, we are stuck in the present energy paradigm of using dirty fossil fuels. All of this may seem like some type of crazy apocalyptic hoax, so unimaginable, so inconceivable. It is hard for us to visualize, to understand a world like this, a world so vastly different from the world that we live in today. It seems so far removed to possibly be important, but it is very important, and it is very real. The scariest thing, perhaps of all, is that all we have to do to make this terrible nightmare a reality is nothing. Absolutely nothing. We have to keep on living our luxurious, high-consumer lifestyles. We have to keep on buying our Apple iPhones, our Steve Madden boots, our accessories. We have to keep on taking luxurious vacations each year on holidays and driving to the grocery store on weekdays. We have to simply keep on continuing to live our lives. We have to continue to abuse our privilege as citizens of this earth. We have to continue to ignore the truth, and we have to continue to disregard the facts. When you hear this, it is predictable that feelings of heaviness set in. You feel like curling up into a ball, powerless and unimportant in the grand scheme of things. It is hard not to feel like the world is set, mapped out, unchangeable. It is hard not to feel overwhelmed. It's easy to just forget about these issues and just push them aside. It is hard to understand that you can do something to help, and that something that you do can make a difference. But it can. You can. And I did, or I attempted at least. Let's flash back a little bit. When I was younger and just getting involved in climate issues, I took every opportunity I could to try and learn more about how I could make a difference. For example, in middle school, I centered all of my science fair projects around energy and the environment. In 5th grade, I built a solar-powered hot water heater. In 6th grade, it was a model wind turbine out of Pringles cans and CDs. And in 8th grade, and 7th and 8th grade, I worked on making a water wheel out of an old bike and other recyclable materials. But it was in the summer of 2012 when I set out on my first real adventure. I interned at the David Suzuki Foundation, which is a Canadian environmental organization, and Justice for Girls, which is an organization centered around girl advocacy and leadership. During that internship, I was given the opportunity to write a submission to the United Nations on the Convention on the Rights of the Child. My submission was accepted, and I actually got to travel to Geneva to speak with different global representatives. It was an amazing experience, but it was odd because there, at the Convention on the Rights of the Child, I was one of the only kids present. That really got me thinking and inspired about the role of youth in these huge environmental issues. It is my generation that will become the lawyers, doctors, politicians, mechanics, engineers, scientists, for the generation, and teachers for the generations to come. It is the generation of youth that are most affected by our rapidly evolving world, so we should have a legitimate and respected voice in change. We are the future leaders of this planet. A famous quote states, "We don't inherit the earth from our ancestors, but we borrow it from our children." So why weren't more kids involved? Why weren't youth being able to voice their opinions in issues that deeply affect them? Were we being silenced, or were we not speaking up? This UN experience led me to my most recent idea called the Girls' Climate Summit. When I first began high school last year at Springside Chestnut Hill Academy, I knew I wanted to seize whatever opportunities I could to learn more about how I could make a difference. That's when I came across the CEO Venture Incubator. The Venture Incubator is a program where students can come and pitch their ideas about a business or a nonprofit to a group of skilled mentors. Then, each student is assigned a mentor to help him or her develop their project or idea. So, in the spring of my freshman year, which was last year, I walked into a meeting room, took a risk, and pitched my idea, the Girls' Climate Summit, to the Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership Board. The Girls' Climate Summit, I imagined, would be a one-day free conference that focuses on the immediate impacts of climate change in the Philadelphia area. This event would ideally educate girls about urgent climate change issues in our community through different interactive workshops. The goal of this summit would be to create a network of young, passionate, and dedicated youth, girl leaders, climate leaders in the Philadelphia area. It is beyond important that children are involved in climate issues because we bring a fresh, unique view that adults don't always see. Our creativity and perspective is limitless, helping to bridge the gap between what is impossible and what is possible. The Girls' Climate Summit, after a year of hard work and planning, actually took place on April 25th of 2015, this year. It was so amazing and surreal to see an idea, a dream, come to reality. We had over 60 girls in attendance from over 16 different schools, and we had over 15 student leaders and volunteers. It was amazing to see the overwhelming support from friends, family, students, teachers, and even strangers. On April 25th, I learned a tremendous amount. I learned that youth do want to make a difference. Sometimes they just need a little bit of help getting started. I urge you to believe me when I say that youth have the power to make an incredible transformation in the state of our world. Young people have the power to create and sustain a climate movement. Youth have the power to lead the world, and young people have the power to change the world. In the words of someone who I look up to greatly, I encourage you to use your voice. The world needs to hear it. Thank you.